You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Well, first I wanted to start off with this post from back in March. Method sent this over, and if you'll remember, it was a lengthy post talking about several different things, Comey testimony, etc., the special counsel investigation, the scope, and basically the fact that it's all a big hoax. Well, if you'll notice here, Q misspelled James Comey. He spelled it James 8 Corny. And when you have an R and an N next to each other, it kind of looks like an M, but it is clearly two different letters. So what that means to me is that James Comey is the corn which is ready to be shucked. So I think we should be keeping an eye open for James Comey to be one of the first people to have public charges brought against them. And we need to keep an eye on that and see what comes up next. Now, we have several new posts, some things that occurred over the night, some deleted posts, but they are archived on qmap.pub. We've also got several new posts from this morning earlier today, and Q is still posting as I am speaking. Plus, we've got a couple of stories, some breaking news from my friend Jeffrey Peterson, who will be here on Saturday to go over some information regarding the tips that he's been receiving in the last 24 hours. Also, some disturbing news about Baltimore and $16 billion in U.S. grants, which appear to be missing. Also, we have some news regarding the former president and Hillary Clinton and their agreement for immunity and the destruction of evidence in that case. And finally, we're going to end with Bill Barr saving the day on immigration. Once again, changing the rules to make it more difficult for people to sneak into our country and bring children that are not their own. We're going to do all this and more, and we'll be right back after a brief word from my sponsor. It only takes one major disaster to remind us how fragile life is and our systems are. Recent earthquakes in California have done just that for many people. Life can change in a flash, and all too often it does. When emergencies strike, are you prepared for the days without electricity and stores being damaged or closed? Well, if not, today's a good day to make a plan and prepare for those disasters. I've done this myself, and I started with building a food storage plan. I trust and use My Patriot Supply, and I think you should too. This month, they're running a sale price for a 2-week emergency food kit on my special website, preparewithredpill78.com. You can save 40% when you click the link in the description below and order it today. It gets shipped discreetly to your home. These 2-week emergency food kits include breakfast, lunches, dinners, and they last up to 25 years in storage. Preparing for emergencies with My Patriot Supply is the smart thing to do, and if you do it now, you'll save 40% at preparewithredpill78.com. That's preparewithredpill78.com. All right, starting right here with post 3546, Q posted the second picture from those gentlemen at Guantanamo. It's a little higher res, so you can see clearly that it does give the bread number, the board name, and then the date that it was posted. They actually messed up and said 2018, but it was actually 2019. They fixed that in another picture. Of course, where we go one, we go all. Then post 3547, America is back, and Anand says, praying for POTUS, Q team, and all patriots, God wins, and Q drops a picture, a meme of the president. It says, America is back. Then post 3548, placeholder exculpatory evidence D-class. This was posted at 2:01 a.m. This is still on the Patriot Fights board. This is still on the Patriots Fight board, and it is a placeholder for the D-class, which we are hoping is going to be coming tomorrow. Then we go over here to a post that is deleted. This post right here after the 2:01 a.m. post at 2:13, it says package, route, and several numbers, 4321, perhaps a countdown. This is definitely something I don't think was meant for us, otherwise it would not have been deleted from the board. And then next we go to the next post on QMAP. And that is right here, post 3549, the Freedom Stringer, says Hot 8, Hot 9, Red, Y, Freedom, Mark 1 through 99, PC, SIG D, Conference Net, W1. Don't know what that means, but looks like it is some code, basically, that it could also not be for us. But, of course, Q actually wants us to see this one. That's why this wasn't deleted right away. Then we go to post 3550, and it is a video of Red Cross money. Let's go ahead and take a look at this video. Now, I'm sure you'll all remember that this video originally was posted some time ago, and Doc Holliday on Twitter said that he estimated that the amount of money that's in these cases here is about $1.23 billion. And someone else in the thread, I'm sorry I don't have it pulled up right now, said that they could see on one of these boxes it said cash for Haitian relief victims or something to that effect. So I think it's possible that this money right here from the Red Cross could actually be part of that huge billions and billions of dollars that was stolen from the people of Haiti by the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative. Now, in that post, Q reposts this from January 7th of 2018. U.S. taxpayers are paying for it all. Paris Accord equals scam, trillions. Red Cross equals scam, billions. Foreign aid equals scam, trillions. War equals scam, trillions. On and on and on. Who audits where the money actually goes? Who actually receives the money? The U.S. taxpayer is funding the very people we are engaged in taking down. Slush funds everywhere. Think George Soros pays for Antifa out of his own pocket. The hole is deep. Feel sick yet? And Q says, unrelated but worth noting. Now, this video post right here is unrelated to this stringer or the stringer that was deleted. That's what he means there. And then post 3551. Q says, not the first time, not the last time. Reread past drops regarding voter ID. Now, I believe that he is pointing to this tweet right here from the president, which was posted by an anon, and the president says we should immediately pass voter ID at voter ID, please, to ensure the safety and sanctity of our voting system. Also, paper ballots as backup, old-fashioned but true. Thank you. Now, by linking to voter ID, please, he's actually linking to this Twitter account right here, and you can see that they have MAGA and Where We Go One, We Go All in the description of their account here. So basically, POTUS is pointing at another Q account. This is not the first time it's happened. It's not the last time, as stated by our favorite anon. And the anon says, thanks, Baker. Missed POTUS linking a QAnon at voter, please. Would say that might be notable. Directly to page, not a specific twat. And then post 3553. Time travel is fun. Q points to Enoch's Twitter account right here. Let's go ahead and take a look. And he says, do you believe in coincidence? Now, we've got from December of 2018. Will voter fraud be exposed by January, someone asks. And then later that day, Q says, no, 2019 voter push ID based on verifiable intel. Fraud. 2020 safeguarded. And then, of course, we have POTUS's tweet right here. Q posted in December of 2018. POTUS posts right here in July of 2019. And here is, again, that voter ID please account. Very, very cool. And post 3554, and it says, prepare for voter ID equals voter suppression of minority vote. And Q links to a post from the past. Let's take a quick look. All right, so this is from February of 2019, and it's talking about the fact that Democrats don't want voter IDs. They basically want to keep it the way it is so that they can continue to defraud us, continue to steal elections, but we need for Democratic power to end, and the only way to do that is to safeguard our vote. Make sure that citizens only are the only people here in the United States that will be able to get out and vote. We saw after the 2016 election, even after the 2018 election, in the midterms, there were tons of voter fraud that were taking place. We lost several seats in the Senate due to the fact that voter suppression, voter fraud was taking place. And when I say voter suppression, I mean suppression of actual votes by negating them with false votes. The Democrats, this is part of their playbook. This is what they've been doing for decades. And with a voter ID law, we will be able to overcome all of it. All right, next, we have a thread from my friend Jeff Peterson. He says, rumor, in order to get the news out quickly, I am reporting it as a rumor because that's what it is at this point. There are several astounding pieces to this story. We received a tip late this afternoon that Nancy Pelosi was spotted dining with a former Mexican elected official. This past weekend at the Ristorante Antica Sacrestia in Venice, Italy, while on travel using an apparent cover story about a Ghana U.S. Army trip. The report is from a reliable source who is also in disbelief at the news. The news is extraordinary because it appears that Emma Coronel, wife of the recently convicted drug kingpin Chapo Guzman, posted selfies in Venice on the exact same date and then deleted the selfies a few hours afterwards. And here's a link to an article talking about it. Now, you got to ask yourself, if she is there in the exact same place as Pelosi and the Dems, taking selfies, why would she delete them? Because she doesn't want people to know that she's actually there. I am sure that they are meeting, and I'm sure that this has something to do with continuing to keep Chapo's drug cartel business going, and that is necessary for his and her survival. He cannot survive in prison if he does not have money coming in as a result of his drug dealing. And the Democrats cannot continue to receive the benefits of his drug dealing if the border is closed and we have a secure nation. Now, Jeff says, I cannot be sure if the third to fourth party eyewitness report we received this afternoon is true. There is nothing we can find online so far. It is true the former president of Mexico, Enrique Peña Nieto, was reportedly in Spain as recently as a week ago. Many people know, and that is Piñata right there. It was reported by major news outlets during Chapo Guzman's trial that Chapo had bribed Peña Nieto with at least $100 million, according to court transcripts. Many people at that time were speculating about Pelosi's closeness to Peña Nieto, considering the fact Peña has been bribed by Chapo, and then shortly thereafter, Pelosi led the entire U.S. Democratic Party in strong opposition to Trump's proposed border wall. The fact that Pelosi has reportedly been spotted dining with such individuals on the same exact date as Chapo's wife posting selfies in the exact same city in Italy is quite extraordinary if true. I am having a difficult time believing it myself. It seems so insane. Apparently, Ilhan Omar and other Democrats are with Pelosi in Italy. I am unsure of exactly what's going on there. People are saying the trip was made on taxpayer dollars, as they always are. Whatever is going on there, the potential appearance of impropriety, considering all the issues, is certainly a cause for concern and more questions to be asked. There is more to this story. I will be reporting it over the next few days. For now, that is the main part of what was reported, but thank you for bearing with me as we've tried to verify whatever we could as quickly as possible. Now, there is additional information coming out of Mexico. Apparently, the new president is in the midst of major anti-corruption efforts, which includes the possible criminal prosecution of the former president of Mexico, and the former governor of Chihuahua was actually just arrested in Italy as well. So this could be major dominoes falling and could lead directly back up to the Democratic Party. I think we all know that the Democratic Party is very close with the criminal elements coming out of Mexico, and that is the major reason that they do not want the border to be closed down, because without it, the money stops flowing. Now, speaking of money flowing, where did the $16 billion in U.S. grants given to Baltimore in 2018 disappear to? The city of Baltimore received $16 billion in grants in 2018. That's a lot of money. The city is a dump. Where did the money go? Does Representative Cummings know? Great thread here covering the Baltimore mess the Democrats are facing. This is from Brian Cates, Draw and Strike. He says, aha. Exactly like I figured. A ton of federal dollars went into Baltimore under Trump in the last 2.5 years. $18 billion. They tracked it. They know what was done with it. They know who looted it. Look at that. He says $18 billion, but it says $16 billion here, and it says $16 billion up here. So I'm going to say that's a typo, Brian. And here is a video of a Trump ally speaking about this very thing. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
This administration, and I want to say this expressly to Mary Young and Michael Steele and Al Sharpton, who today called out the president and said, let President Trump put his money where his mouth is. Well, boys and girls, I have a message for you. President Trump has given $16 billion in 2018 alone to Elijah Cummings' district in federal grants. We have given more money in homeless funds to Baltimore than the last administration. We have given more money in community development grants than the last administration to Baltimore. My question to you guys is this. What are you actually doing with the money so that it benefits residents in the community for once instead of deep pocket crooked politicians?
And I know we're going to get into more.
Well, just as I've always said, President Trump has been allowing these criminals to hang themselves with their own noose. By providing this money and then tracking the status of it, seeing exactly where it goes and who uses it, who steals it, these people are incriminating themselves, and they are going to find themselves in a world of hurt before very long. Elijah Cummings, by drawing attention to all of this, is putting the spotlight on himself, and he is not going to be happy when the hammer comes down on him. Now, Brian says, okay, I misheard. It wasn't $18 billion over 2.5 years. The HUD director said it was $16 billion in 2018 alone. The federal government pumped $16 billion into Cummings District in 2018. Where did the money go? The Democrat Baltimore mayor's home and office were raided in April. There are LEOs at the federal level who have known for decades how these corruptocrats in cities like Baltimore loot all the federal money that is sent to their districts. I've no doubt Trump and Sessions set up a system where at last that money was sent in and tracked. This is why the Baltimore mayor's home and office and the city hall were raided this past April by the FBI and the IRS, and Trump knows what they found. And of course, we remember that the Democrat mayor resigned. The FBI and the IRS, which is your first clue that these were financial crimes being investigated. Catherine Pugh right there. She resigned. She was missing for a time, if you guys will remember. She ran off. We covered it here. Pugh has since resigned as mayor of Baltimore. She knew the jig was up. 7 locations in all related to the Baltimore mayor were raided. And it says that she had multiple homes in the Baltimore area. 7 locations were raided, and that would have been first Pugh's own home, Pugh's second home, offices at City Hall, Pugh's lawyer's office, Maryland Center for Adult Training, Gary Brown's apartment, and Keith Timmons' home. She made money on a children's book? Here's the part you want to pay attention to. The 7 raids come amid a scandal involving Pugh, a Democrat, and nearly $800,000 in payments she's received in recent years for copies of her self-published Healthy Holly children's books from the University of Maryland Medical System, where she was a board member, and several other entities with businesses before the city. Pugh has been unable to account for her business expenses related to her Healthy Holly book orders since the Baltimore Sun revealed them last month, and has acknowledged that some of the orders were never met. Was this a payoff disguised as a book deal? Was it a bestseller? I don't think so. Let's see. It says, we went looking for Baltimore Mayor Pugh's Healthy Holly books. From 2011 through 2018, the University of Maryland Medical System had a deal to spend $500,000 for 100,000 copies of Mayor Pugh's books. What more is coming this week? Yep, Trump tweeting again within the last hour, pointing right at where this is all headed. Baltimore's numbers are the worst in the United States on crime and the economy. Billions of dollars have been pumped in over the years, but to no avail. The money was stolen or wasted. Ask Elijah Cummings where it went. He should investigate himself with his oversight committee. And it was only Monday. He's only just starting. And just like that, President Trump got the entire country to take a good look at West Baltimore. Waiting patiently. Oh, you gotta love it. President Trump is a genius. He is seriously draining the swamp, going in and cleaning up the most corrupt areas in America. Watch out, Elijah Cummings. You, your wife, all of your cronies, you are all going down. Now next, the ACLJ has obtained Obama's DOJ's immunity agreement with Hillary's lawyers to, quote, dispose of evidence and refuse to comply with federal law. Now, the ACLJ, that's the American Center for Law and Justice, they obtained the Justice Department's immunity agreements with Hillary Clinton's lawyers, and it showed they were allowed to dispose of evidence and refuse to comply with federal law. The immunity agreements were drawn up for Cheryl Mills and Heather Samuelson. While the existence of these agreements had already been public knowledge, the ACLJ obtained the actual documents for the first time. There were two separate agreements. First, Mills and Samuelson were granted immunity from prosecution under multiple felony statutes for anything found on their laptops. The second agreement, which was originally withheld, showed that the FBI and DOJ agreed to evade FOIA and to dispose of the culling laptops. The ACLJ, which is run by one of Trump's personal lawyers, Jay Sekulow, stated that Hillary Clinton's aides turned lawyers violated multiple felony criminal statutes. The ACLJ has just obtained previously unreleased documents related to the Clinton investigation and immunity agreements given to top Clinton aides. These agreements reveal that James Comey's Federal Bureau of Investigation and Loretta Lynch's Department of Justice granted immunity to Hillary Clinton's aides and lawyers, Cheryl Mills and Heather Samuelson, from prosecution for anything found on their laptops violating multiple felony criminal statutes governing the mishandling of classified information and or the removal or destruction of records, including Espionage Act provisions. Further, the DOJ and FBI also agreed to evade statutory requirements of the Freedom of Information Act by purporting to deem the contents of the laptops as not under DOJ or FBI custody or control. Comey's FBI and Loretta Lynch's DOJ protected Hillary Clinton and her lawyers from both criminal liability and public scrutiny by blocking and shielding the emails from FOIA lawsuits. These laptops were critical to any meaningful investigation of Hillary Clinton's handling of classified emails and records, according to the DOJ Inspector General, who identified these as the culling laptops. All 62,320 emails pulled from the Clinton servers were stored at one time on these laptops. Having taken control of these laptops, agreeing to severely limit its searches, agreeing to unlawfully shield the laptops from FOIA, then agreeing to dispose of the laptops, it appears the Comey FBI and Lynch DOJ did everything in their power to protect Clinton's senior aides and lawyers from both criminal liability and public scrutiny. Even more egregious, the DOJ and FBI agreed to dispose of Mills and Samuelson's culling laptops. These laptops stored all of the emails pulled from Hillary Clinton's servers. You can watch now as attorney Jordan Sekulow, Jay Sekulow's son, of the ACLJ, and Tom Fitton discuss this breaking story. Let's go ahead and take a watch, and we'll check out the clip.
And the American Center for Law and Justice has now obtained the Obama DOJ's immunity agreements with Hillary Clinton lawyers, Cheryl Mills, Heather Samuelson, to, quote, now pay attention, I'm not making this up, to dispose of evidence and refuse to comply with federal law. I'm sure they do that for Donald Trump, too. Now, this all comes as sources are telling Fox News tonight that John Durham, he is the prosecutor from Massachusetts, that he is zeroing in on why certain pieces of exculpatory material may have been withheld from the FISA court as it pertains to spying on the team of Trump. Here now with more reaction, author of the Next Red Wave, ACLJ Executive Director Jordan Sekulow, along with Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton. Let's start with, hang on a second. I've never heard, except for Strzok and Page destroying their phones, which Mueller did, I've never heard of the attorneys for Hillary Clinton in a case where we know the evidence is overwhelming. She had these emails, Jordan, and we know that she also deleted the subpoenaed emails and all that stuff in the bleach pit. I never heard of allowing the destruction of evidence, and those two lawyers sat in when she was being interrogated by the FBI. Either of you ever hear of that before? Because I haven't, Jordan.
No. I mean, first, they were aides to Hillary Clinton. Cheryl Mills was her chief of staff when she was Secretary of State. And Heather Samuelson was her senior advisor and White House liaison for the Secretary of State and the State Department. Then when Hillary Clinton leaves the Secretary of State position, they become her private attorneys. They take over these emails. They're called culling computers. Each one had one. These were the backups to the infamous server out in Colorado that had the 62,000 emails on them. Each had it. And guess what? Each was going through, as now Hillary Clinton's lawyers, and deleting emails, Sean. So when this investigation began, they wanted to make sure right off the bat they were immune from the Espionage Act, the Records Act, the Classified Information Act. I mean, crimes that bring prison time of up to 28 years if you combine them for each of these actors. And yet they get full immunity. But not just that, as you said, they also get the DOJ and FBI to agree to not allow the American people to access this information on their computers via FOIA. And we've got that document right here. And then they'll destroy the computers for Cheryl Mills and Heather Samuelson and the Clinton team.
Obviously, that would never happen for Team Trump. Let me go to Tom Fitton. Tom,
No.
Judicial Watch, the hearings about whether to speed up the struck page document release. Now, we have a lot of the text messages, but they keep dribbling out more and more, and you keep getting them. How much more do we think is out there?
Oh, there's 13,000 more pages. And the FBI is taking the position that they generally shouldn't have to turn over any text messages. So we don't know what text messages are being withheld. And the court has looked at the production schedule. There's been 20,000 records generally over the last year, year and a half. They've only produced or processed 500 per month, about 6,000. So he's looking, seeing 13,000 records still to be produced. He wants to have a court hearing and take another look to see whether or not this is quick enough. I hope he forces the release of these records quickly.
Incredible. Incredible to think that the FBI would not only give immunity, but also agree to destroy any evidence so that it could not be brought out in FOIA. This is the former Justice Department and former FBI from the last failed administration. This is the kind of corruption that we are dealing with, guys. But the great news is that it is all coming to light thanks to people like Tom Fitton and Judicial Watch and Jay and Jordan Sekelo at the ACLJ. All right, and finally, Attorney General Bill Barr overturns asylum decision and limits migrants seeking asylum based on family ties. This is great work right here, guys. U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr ruled on Monday that migrants claiming to be family members of people being targeted by gangs is not enough to qualify them for asylum. Barr's ruling will likely block tens of thousands of people seeking asylum based on family ties. The case highlighted Monday by the Justice Department is known as Matter LEA and is about the son of a man who owned a store targeted by a local drug cartel. The son, a Mexican citizen, crossed into the United States illegally for the second time in 2011 and sought asylum. Bill Barr overturned an asylum decision by the Board of Immigration Appeals and asserted they had improperly recognized the father's immediate family as a particular social group, in effect overturning precedent. Barr argued that based on the decision by the Board of Immigration Appeals, virtually every alien could make their way to the U.S. and claim asylum. While the board has recognized certain clans and subclans as particular social groups, most nuclear families are not inherently socially distinct and therefore do not qualify as particular social groups, Barr's conclusion stated. Further, as almost every alien is a member of a family of some kind, categorically recognizing families as particular social groups would render virtually every alien a member of a particular social group. There is no evidence that Congress intended the term particular social group to cast so wide a net, Barr added. Monday's ruling by Bill Barr is in addition to President Trump's newly signed Safe Third Country Asylum Agreement with Guatemala. Great news, guys. This means that tens of thousands of people will not be able to illegally stream into our country and then claim asylum based on the persecution of someone that they are related to. Imagine how many people this is going to stop from getting into our country and taking advantage of our system. Bill Barr is doing the right thing, and I'm so happy to hear it. Now, before we go, there have been a few new posts while I was recording, so we'll finish those and we will end for the day. All right, looks like 4 new posts. We ended on 3554, and we go to 3555, and it is a tweet from Devin Nunes. Targets may be closer than they appear. Hunters become the hunted. Let's take a look. Oh, look at this. Devin Nunes hunting for chupacabras circa 2001. Oh, that's great. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right, next is post 3556, and it is The Hill, recognizing that President Trump just tagged a QAnon account in calling for voter ID law. And this is the verified account from The Hill, and Q says Trump has periodically called for stricter voter ID laws, which advocates warn could restrict ballot access in low-income communities, students, and people of color. And Q says, like clockwork. ID required. When? Sheep follow the most absurd arguments. Democratic Party voter corruption on display. Absolutely. All right, now going to post 3557, we have 3555 embedded, and it says placeholder, D-class, exculpatory evidence, illegal hold, non-report. T targets, watch the news this week. All right, we are watching the news for the D-class and the information to be filling that placeholder. And then we go to post 3558, and it says it's a story from RT, and it says Trump threatens worst trade deal for China if Beijing stalls after his re-election. U.S. President Donald Trump has once again criticized China's trade practices, warning negotiations could get tougher. The statements come as Beijing and Washington are headed into another round of trade negotiations in Shanghai. In a series of tweets on Tuesday, Trump warned if China waits and he wins re-election, the trade deal will be much tougher for Beijing. China is doing very badly. Worst year in 27. Was supposed to start buying our agricultural product now. No signs that they are doing so. That is the problem with China. They just don't come through, Trump wrote. My team is negotiating with them now, but they always change the deal in the end to their benefit. They should probably wait out our election to see if we get one of the Democrat stiffs like Sleepy Joe. Then they can make a great deal like in the past 30 years and continue to rip off the USA even bigger and better than ever before. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer will meet on Tuesday and Wednesday in Shanghai with a delegation led by China's Vice Premier Liu He. According to Trump, the problem with them waiting, however, is that if and when I win, the deal that they will get will be much tougher than what we are negotiating now, or no deal at all. We have all the cards. Our past leaders never got it. And then, of course, we have post 3501 re-embedded from July of 2019, possible China monitored Mueller hearing, possible China analyzing likelihood of POTUS re-election 2020, possible China taking steps, think propaganda, to harm POTUS regarding 2020, possible China in secure comms with Democratic candidates running for president regarding reinstitute of U.S. piggy bank, possible China in secure comms with former Democratic Party senior officials regarding reinstitute of U.S. piggy bank. Possible China put extreme, threatening pressure on North Korea the day of the Mueller hearing. Coincidence? Should hearing swing to POTUS? Possible acts were taken in effort to diminish, lessen Democratic blow. Possible acts were taken in effort to change the narrative, define false flag. News unlocks. 5x5. We understand. We hear you perfectly, Q. I just want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.